Hey there, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is going to be a bit different than my previous videos because this video is all about answering your questions. Yes, last week I posted on my Facebook and I also asked people in my newsletter that hey, if you guys have any questions around my, well, not my, but around digital marketing or marketing in general, please go ahead and share it with me and I will answer them in the form of a video, and this is that video. So if you don't follow me on Facebook or are you not part of my newsletter, the link is in the description. So you can, click on it and join any of those platforms. Every week, I send a newsletter out on Friday asking people their questions, plus, putting some valuable content in the newsletter as well. So take full advantage of it, and it's completely free at the moment. So why not? All right, so let's get started with the first question. All right, so let's get started with the first question. And the first question is by my friend Tizenzo. Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but yeah. So Tizenzo says that how to get a first client for digital marketing business, any experiment to prepare. Okay, so I guess Tizenzo, you want to be someone who wants to start freelancing and you are basically trying to find your first client. I will take that scenario. So before we understand how to find the first client, the best way to start is to first understand what service do you want to provide to a client. I will never recommend anyone to go ahead and start providing full digital marketing services because you if you are a person who is so like one man army, then you can't provide all the services in digital marketing. That is just not practically possible. So before you go ahead and try to hunt your first client, first understand which service do you want to provide. Do you want to provide Google ads? Do you want to provide Facebook ads? Do you want to provide SEO or some other digital marketing services? You need to pick one service and get started with that. Once you find out that, okay, this is the service I want to provide to the client, then go ahead and go ahead and try signing up to some of the freelancing platforms, because that is one of the most common ways to find uh, clients. Because honestly, when I first started out freelancing back in the days, my first step towards freelancing, I actually signed up to three freelancing platforms: Upwork, People Per Hour, and Freelancer. And from there I tried to find my first client. These days, I mean, finding a client from these platforms has become very, very difficult because the competition is too high. But this is one of the common ways to find the client. The next best way to find a client is, of course, from your personal network. If there is someone in your personal network that might be needing your services, then feel free to go ahead and get in touch with them, because you will have a better chance of finding a client faster from your own network than from these freelancing platforms, because these platforms are way too crowded, and no matter what experiment you try out on this platform, the chances of you landing a client is like once or twice in like hundreds, if you don't have a good repo on these platforms. Like if your profile does not show like past works or past earnings or stuff like that, so it's really, really difficult. For example, in my case, when I first started out with freelancing and signed up on this platform, it took me almost 3 weeks to get my first client. And I got my first client from a platform called People Per Hour, and I only got it because that person liked my proposal, and only three people actually submitted the proposal for his job. And the client basically wanted to run Google ads to promote his affiliate product, and I ended up getting that client. I failed miserably in producing results because his product that he wanted to promote was pretty bad. But hey, you know he gave me the money, and I was completely transparent with him since the beginning that hey, there's no guarantee that this product will work because the quality is not that good, and he understand, and he still paid me, gave me a feedback on the platform, and that's how I started getting more and more clients easily. One trick that I always tried on these freelancing platform was to basically always send a customized messaging to the job person, the person who's looking for your service. Because if you're gonna just send the standard template, then they're just gonna don't even gonna bother to read it, because it does not meet their requirements or does not exactly tell what they are looking for. You have to create a customized message, make it as much personalized as possible, so you will have to put in that efforts to make that thing happen. So yeah, This was the first question, and I hope it answers all your queries. And any experiment to prepare, the last part of the question. So the experiment is basically, if you are trying to reach out to people on these platforms, always send a customized message, understand their job requirements, and then create a message and then send it out to them. Uh, Try to also create like a practical case study if possible. If not, if you don't have a client, sorry, if you don't have a case study that you can add to this, uh, then the best part is to just send a customized message, and even shoot like a small video, like a 1 minute to 2 minute video explaining your a bit of a plan of action, that how can you generate results for this particular person, right? That should make you stand different from the other people sending the message. And maybe if the person by any chance looks at your template, would definitely send you a message. So awesome. I spent a lot of time on that question, but I hope that answers your question. So let's move on to the next one. All right, so the second question is by my friend Sharif, and actually in one question he has asked like three sub questions, so I'm going to go one by one. So the first part of the question is, how did you get your first client? I've already answered that, Sharif. So if you have reached this part of the video, then you might have already heard the answer. So awesome. And the second part of his question, your question is, how to find niche specific audience and client. My niche is Google Ads. And the last part of the question is, how I will know who needs my Google Ads services. So Sharif, if you refer back to my previous answer where I mentioned about about the freelancing platforms, so most of the people posting about a job on these freelancing platforms mention that what type of service they are looking for, whether it is Google Ads, Facebook ads, or SEO. So it will be very easy to find your niche audience on these platforms. But as I mentioned, that finding clients from these freelancing platforms have become very difficult. If you don't have a good repo on the platform, basically platform your profile showing past works, then it really becomes difficult to find the client. Now let's say you don't want to use these freelancing platforms, you want to find uh, people outside these platforms. The next possible option is A, Facebook groups, and B, LinkedIn. Once again, Facebook groups has become over the years very, I will say, crowded. Like there are a bunch of people posting random things, and sometimes you find fake people posting about jobs, and then they try to scam you and stuff. So if you go ahead and try to find people in Facebook groups for your services, then be very careful. If you go ahead and search digital marketing groups on Facebook, or or digital marketing services groups on Facebook, you will find a lot of groups out there, or maybe even people's posts where they're trying to look for some digital marketing services. So go ahead and try and do the search and try to join these groups or find people who have posted about some job requirement. And let's say if you want to take a better approach, that is LinkedIn. With LinkedIn, you will have to do some sort of cold messaging. Let's say, who requires Google Ads? We need to first understand that. So any business who wants to sell their product online, they definitely require Google Ads. Any business that wants to generate leads online, they will have to definitely run Google Ads to find relevant leads, right? Now, you will have to create a list of the brands that you want to work after. And I will not recommend choosing like big brands, because you're never gonna get any chance. Try to find small startups, like a company which is less than 50 employees, because these are the people who are low on cash and they cannot afford to hire a full-fledged marketing agency. So they will be probably looking for freelancers to help them out with their certain services. So you need to create a list of these companies. You can try using LinkedIn search feature to find out any company which has less than 100 employees. Or if you already have uh, a list created, then go ahead and try to send messages to the founders of these companies or of these businesses, and try to first create a friendly conversation, that hey, I was like, the first message when you're going to send them the connection request should be around that, hey, I was looking at your business and service, and I realized that I noticed one small issue with your platform. So I'm sending this message to connect. And once they accept the message after reading your invite, then go ahead and send them the second message saying that, hey, this was the problem that I found. If you have quick 1 or 5 minutes for a quick chat over Google Meet or Zoom, I will be able to help you better in how to solve it. Now, this is a very, very basic example of cold emailing, but what I basically means to say is that you will have to do a manual uh, work in here. on LinkedIn, curate the list, send the connection request, send people, uh, invite people to be part of your network. And once you do that, just make sure that you send personalized message to them. And once they agree for a video call, then boom, you are ready to go ahead and pitch your service to them. Now, if you have some money, then the best way then you can use some automation tools on LinkedIn and try to automate the process. But if you don't have money, then you will have to put in some manual hours and actually try to get your first client. And once again, let's say if you have your own network, where people are run their businesses, then you can try asking people in your network that if they are looking for Google Ad services, then please go ahead and give me a try and see how that works, right? Because I think you will find a better chance of finding your client easily from your network than from LinkedIn or from uh, uh, freelancing platforms, because competition here is too high. The same person might be receiving messages from like five different people on LinkedIn at the same time. The same person might be receiving messages from five different people on Facebook at the same time. And then, of course, the freelancing platforms, multiple people apply for the same job. So it is a very competitive field out there. So best way to find the client is from your own network. But if you don't have that network, then you will have to put in some manual labors and try to do these manual tasks of cold messaging or cold emailing. I hope that answers your question. Let's move on to the next one. All right, so we come to the last question of this video, and this question is asked by Gerald. And Gerald says that, sir, please explain me the following questions. Once again, he has asked multiple questions in one. The first part is how to decide budget estimation of search, display, shopping, and YouTube ads, and then which are all bid strategies. So let me start with the second part first, which are all bid strategies. So basically on Google Ads, there are, I think, there are four main bidding strategies. One is bidding for clicks, second is bidding for conversions, third is bidding for impressions, and the fourth is bidding for ROS. So the first one, bidding for clicks, basically means trying to get as many clicks as possible. Also, the bid is known as maximize clicks. The second is bidding for conversions, same as clicks, but here we are focused more on conversions, that is maximize conversions. The third is bid for impressions, same scenario, but here we are trying to maximize the number of impressions that our ad can generate. And the fourth is bidding for ROS, that is basically means that trying to get as much return on ad spend as possible, right? So these are the four major bidding categories in Google. There's also one called manual CPC, but sooner or later Google will definitely scrap that thing out because Google wants everything to be automated and AI based. So manual CPC will be gone, but the four important bidding strategies are these, right? So that is the part that was the second part of your question. The first part is how to decide budget estimation of search, display, shopping, and YouTube ads. Now it's a very interesting question which does not have a very one answer, like a one single answer. The reality of dividing budget is to first understand is what is the objective of your of 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 running the campaign. If the objective of running the campaign is to generate as many leads as possible, then you don't have to spend any money in YouTube or display ads, because majority of the leads will actually come from the search campaign, because people who are interested in your service after visiting your landing page will definitely fill up the form. Running a display or a YouTube ad for generating leads is not always the right approach, because you generate a lot of irrelevant traffic, especially from display, because people end up clicking on your banners by mistake sometimes, and that still charges us, even though the cost per click is very less. Uh, but the click is irrelevant, so it becomes costlier for us in the beginning. So if the objective of the business is to generate lead generation, then at least 60 to 80% of the budget should go in the search campaign. If you want to run, if you're in a scenario where you also want to run a remarketing campaign or display and YouTube, then just allocate 20% budget, like the least amount of budget as possible, but the majority of the budget should go on the search campaign. Now, let's say if the company is an e-commerce business where basically the primary objective is to generate as many sales as possible, then the number one campaign that we need to run is the shopping campaign. That means at least 60 to 70% of the budget has to go to the shopping campaign, because that campaign will generate most results, because that's the objective of the shopping campaign, to generate as much sales as possible. Now, in the recent times, Google has done an amazing thing. They have created a new campaign type called Performance Max, which is basically a mixture of shopping campaign, search campaign, display campaign, and YouTube apps. That means all the campaigns go in one. So if you are if you're running ads for an e-commerce business, just run a Performance Max campaign, and all the other campaign types will get added to it. And sooner or later, Google will also stop, giving us the option to run a shopping campaign, because they want to switch the shopping campaign to Performance Max. So just run Performance Max for e-commerce businesses, and you don't have to worry about the other uh, the other type of campaigns that there are for the e-commerce. I don't recommend running Performance Max campaign for lead generation, because Performance Max is AI based, and it has a better understanding of how to sell e-commerce products than generate B2B leads or B2C leads or whatever lead generation we want to do, right? So for lead generation, I quickly summarize, is basically, if the objective of the business is to generate as many leads as possible, then majority of the budget should go on the search campaign, at least 60 to 70%, and the remaining we can put on YouTube and display for remarketing purposes. And apart from that, let's say we are in an e-commerce scenario, we can forget about running multiple campaigns, because Google has now introduced a campaign called Performance Max, which is a mixture of shopping, display, YouTube, and search. So you just launch that one campaign, and Google will do the rest of the things for generating sales for us, right? So I hope that answers your question, Gerald, and thank you so much. Thank you all of you guys for these questions. I will once again post a Q&A session in the coming week, so you guys can share your questions there, and I will create a video like this. And yeah, if you like the video, click on the thumbs up, subscribe that button, click on that subscription button, so that you can receive my future videos easily, and see you in the next one. Cheers.